news anchor. Well, good late morning, early afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I want to thank you for having me again as your mistress of ceremonies for this event, and I am pleased to join you all to celebrate 31 years of committed service to the community. Yes, please round of applause. 31 years celebrating this year. Again, I'm Yolanda Harris with 10 TV, and I want to say, if you guys watch our news, thank you very much. If you don't, give us a try. We have a full program for you this afternoon. You're going to learn all about APDS and the work this agency does to restore lives and to rebuild families. We have the Honorable Judge James Green is here with us today at this moment. He will be our keynote speaker. You'll also hear from the people who have impacted and will recognize those who continue to make big differences here in Central Ohio. So we're going to get started now, and at this time, it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Brandon Chapman, Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees for APDS. Brandon?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Yolanda. On behalf of the entire board of APDS, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our 31st anniversary celebration. First, let me acknowledge the elected officials who are with us today. Please stand so that we can recognize you. Any elected officials? Thank you for being here with us today. We do appreciate your ongoing support of APDS. As a member of the executive leadership of the board, I am proud of the work this agency does, day in and day out, serving those who are struggling with drug and alcohol addiction, anger, and domestic violence disorders. Over the last 31 years, we have evolved into where we are today, a behavioral health clinic serving any and all who come to us. And yet, we maintain our commitment to providing cultural relevant treatment that is designed to meet the client where they are. Our mission is to provide innovative and appropriate treatment, social services, education, and prevention programs to prevent, treat, and eliminate substance abuse and domestic violence. We take this mission to heart and strive to demonstrate excellence in all that we do. Today, as a special day, we also share more about our work and we honor those who have been in the battle for a long time, doing what we call servant leadership and helping to change lives. Again, thank you for being here with us today. And now I will ask member of the APDS staff, Rodney Dunn, to bring the innovation.
Let's bow for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to thank you, Lord, for all the things that you've done for us here at APDS and in the Central Ohio community. We thank you for the wisdom that you gave Dr. Mariba and Barbara Kelsey 31 years ago when they thought of the idea, the things that in our community, what is an area that we are hurting the most? And substance abuse and domestic violence were the key bedrocks of this program. So we thank you for that. And Lord, we thank you for our community, Lord, and all those who took the time to come out this afternoon to support us, because we know that it truly, we can't do it alone. And it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to support an agency such as we have and the missions that we were attempting to do. And Lord, we ask your blessings and for those who are working with the clients. We have our leadership with Brother Jerry Saunders and his staff and the clinicians who work with the clients from day to day, Lord. And we hear all the challenges they have, and we know that just by being there, we provide a service that will ultimately, hopefully, allow them to go back to their families, Lord, and change the behaviors that harm them, that allow them to be in the system. So, Lord, we thank you for those things. We thank you, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, to bless this food we're about to receive and the nourishment of our body through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Please enjoy your lunch. We do want to continue our program, and I want to say we would not be able to do the work we do without the support of our partners and sponsors. So we want to thank our platinum sponsor for their support of APDS and the gift that they are giving to the Columbus community. Please welcome Eugene Griffin, representing the Griffin Family Foundation.
I insist that my wife come up. We've been married for 37 years and we're doing this together as a partnership. Glory to God. We've been truly blessed. Had a very successful business, which we still have. Many folks in the community, I look around the room and Gail was very instrumental in helping us, and Dr. Harris, who I see over there, and thank you all for your support. But many people in the community helped us along the way. And as a way of saying thank you and paying forward, we decided to establish the Griffin Foundation that we're going to give back to organizations that we believe enhance and help our community, advance Christianity, and things that, organizations that we believe in and we feel really help people. So that's our motivation, that's our goal. We want to try to pay for and make our contribution to the world, try to make things better for those who don't have the opportunities we have. So thank you.
Okay, that was just beautiful and adorable. He's not going to do it without his wife. So hashtag relationship goals, everybody. All right, the next person I'm about to introduce, everybody knows here. I look at Jerry Saunders, and he is a mentor to so many people, and he's been a consistent leader in our community, doing the work of the people for more than 4 decades. That's 40 years of community service. Yes, let's give a big round of applause. He's just one of those people, when you meet others and you ask them if they know him, oh, he's a great guy, I love that Jerry. And I do. I love Jerry Saunders. I love Gail. They do such great work. And a funny story, when I was graduated high school, about to go to college that summer before, I had an in at the YMCA, Eldon W. Ward YMCA. A friend of mine knew Jerry Saunders, her and her family. So I got a summer job there, and Jerry was my boss. At the summer day camp, I was a receptionist there, and he was a darn good boss, I'll tell you that. And so I always remember him as one of my first employers. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jerry Saunders, Sr., CEO of the Center for Personal Development.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming out this afternoon. Thank you, Yolanda. We appreciate all you do for the community. And we are grateful for your time and the treasure that you have contributed to APDS. And I just think you guys don't know just how much, but we just need to give her a hand. And a special thank you to the Griffin family. We really do appreciate your caring and philanthropic mindset to help make this event happen today. and also to give us a boost for our 2019 annual giving campaign. So for that, we thank you very much. And I'm just going to pause for a second because I do have to always give thanks to God, give thanks to the Creator, and also give thanks to my first true love and my first real hero, my parents, whose shoulders I stand upon. And I also have to give thanks to my wife, Gail, because she brings so much joy and energy and support into my life. And gorgeous, I couldn't do this without you. So thank you. The After-Surgery Personal Development Shop was created by a husband and wife team, Dr. Mariva and Dr. Barbara Kelsey, on July the 4th, 1988. Shortly after that, in December of that year, we were certified as a 501c3 nonprofit agency. 2 years ago, we decided, I'm saying this because you're probably wondering why we're celebrating in October, because we were founded in July, but 2 years ago, we decided to celebrate our annual anniversary in October as part of the observation and participation in the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The common themes of Domestic Violence Awareness Month are connecting those who work to end violence, celebrating those who have survived, and mourning those who have died because of domestic violence. Mourning those that we've lost to domestic violence is extremely difficult at any time. This year is particularly difficult for many of us in this room and in our community. This week, we experienced an unthinkable tragedy and mourned the loss of Dorothy Cage Evans. She was and still is a precious treasure to her family and our community as an exemplary role model for generations of women, men, teenagers, and children. A first-class lady, and I put all those in capital letters, with a compassionate, caring, and philanthropic spirit. Please join me in a moment of silence and respect for Mrs. Dorothy Cage Evans. Thank you. And for those of you who believe in prayer, please keep Mr. Hank Evans, my friend, in your prayers. Right. Our theme at APDS is making families healthier and safer. We embrace a holistic approach, which we call the Afrocentric approach. Several years ago, we strategically downsized our programming with the goal to design and build 3 signature programs at APDS. We accomplished our goal. Those 3 programs are substance use disorders treatment, domestic violence prevention and intervention education for men, and a SMART 2.0 summer day camp for youth 6 to 12 years old, with the primary goal of preventing these children from needing substance abuse treatment and domestic violence intervention services when they become teenagers and adults. My task this afternoon, is to tell you about the direction that we are heading programmatically in 2020, i.e. medication-assisted treatment program, which we've got plenty of support from Eden Counseling Centers for that, and we thank you guys for that. I want to thank you. And family therapy. These are what we're looking to move into in 2020. But for the sake of time, I will just share that the encompassing direction that we are headed as an agency over the next 2 years is to design and connect recovery support and ongoing resources that will be available for our clients in recovery for 5 years. It's been discussed for years on the national level in the treatment industry that a successful completion rate of 48% is good for 3 to 6 month programs, which are the most publicly funded organizations, which are what are funded most by the public organizations. Currently, and listen to this now. Currently, there are case studies that indicate that if a person in recovery stays clean for 5 years, that their chance of staying clean for the rest of their lives increases to 85%. It will be better used and save public dollars in long run by reducing the cost of treatment as a result of relapsing. Now, this is not empirical evidence, But it doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. Because we take and we'll treat somebody for 4 to 6 months for lifetime issues, lifestyle and everything else. And it makes more sense to expand that as a community to 5 years, because then we don't have to worry so much about relapse and start treatment again, but make sure that we're providing that recovery community for them to make that happen. And so the critically acclaimed author James Baldwin wrote, not everything faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Let me recognize the compassionate and remarkable staff that is facing this challenge of making families healthier and safer. The staff of APDS, would you please stand? And if there's any former staff of APDS, please stand. Thank you. In addition, we are blessed with leadership and support from an awesome group of volunteers, the APDS Board of Trustees. Please stand. And if there are any former members, please stand. Kay Wilson, our keynote speaker last year, please stand. Thank you. Thank you all. We have 2 volunteers to recognize. We have several volunteers to recognize this afternoon, but we got 2 in particular to recognize this afternoon that have contributed, tremendously contributed to APDS and have served their limited years. One can serve on the board. We only can serve up to a total of 6 years, 3 terms, 2-year terms. And I'm going to ask them to come on up, and then I'll ask the other one to come on up. They aren't expecting this, but the first is Valencia Turner from Franklin County Children's Services. And this other person really not expecting this one. This is David Bodiford, because David is retiring in April of 2020 from, he's one of the vice presidents of Big Lot, so he won't be back here next year. So we're going to show our appreciation to David today. So this is the award that's going to the last year here. I'm going to say a few words. I know about y'all.
Yes, I am very much caught off guard today, but I just want to say that when I served on the board, I felt like family, and this still is my family. So anything that APDS does, I want to make sure that I continue to support it, and I ask you as the community to continue to support the work that they do, because Jerry and his team are just fantastic. So I appreciate this. I actually moved out of state for a little bit, and I still remain on the board. They would just conference me in. And all the time I was like, what are you guys eating? You know? So, this is, like I said, this is my family, and thank you very much.
Mr. Bonifer, thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll echo Valencia. I was not anticipating this, so I really don't have anything to say in addition to what you've already said. It's been a pleasure being on the board, and it's going to be a little disappointing, bittersweet when I actually fall off the board, but I think my wife is looking forward to me joining her at some point. So again, love APDS, love the time I've spent with the board. Anything that the community can do to support them, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. As I mentioned earlier, the Griffin Family Foundation, along with the Saunders Company, our host committee, and friends of APDS have gotten our 2019 annual giving campaign off to a great start. And I still again have to recognize my wife, who is the founder and CEO of the Saunders Company, and they are a gold sponsor today. Thank you, baby. Thank you. They've gotten us off to a great start, and we're kicking off our annual giving campaign. So on your tables will be envelopes, and then if you look up here on the screen, if you go to our website, apdsinc.org, you can click that orange donate button up at the top, and this will show up, and you click on that, and you can make a donation to us and make it at any and every time, often as you want to, all right? So thank you very much. As we observe and participate in the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, let us commit to activities, attitudes, and behavior that will benefit us year-round. Thank you for your time and your support. Excellent service is our #1 goal. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
We're seeing more and more connection between those who have died of overdoses and their relationship with domestic violence, either as perpetrators or as victims. But we're seeing a lot of perpetrators. And I know APDS works with domestic violence, extremely important. We're learning more and more with addiction. So I think you're all on the right track.
Columbus, Ohio, I'm from here, and over the years I've seen the population grow, the diversity of the population grow. And in doing so, there's been a lot of need for diversified services, but there's also been a need for the services of the population that's always been here. We need that validation, we need that affirmation. And Afrocentric Personal Development Shop has always provided that, as well as evolved the services they provide over the years. What originally started out under Dr. Kelsey, he was willing and able to acknowledge, hey, let me bring in new energy, let me bring in some change, let me bring in innovation and innovative ideas. And as a result of that, we have a service that isn't just for the African American community, it's for the community at large. And the principles that it's based upon are those that we can really identify with, yes, as an African American community, but really as Central Ohio.
And I run a fatality review of overdose deaths here at the office, and it is put together a multidisciplinary group of agencies. In addition, I send out alerts when we have an unusual number of people who die of overdoses.
Over the years, Afrocentric Personal Development Shop has grown along with the Central Ohio community. Just as we've diversified from being a community that is primarily African American or white, we now have Laotian, Somali, Nepali, African, different tribes in Africa, different communities in Africa, as well as a large Latino community. So Afrocentric Personal Development, while it's founded on the principles that are based in African diaspora, these principles are what can be used in any community.
We need agencies that provide preventive services for addiction. We need agencies that provide treatment services for addiction. And in addition to that, we need agencies that not only are treatment agencies, but also have capability to treat in culturally sensitive ways. So for different ethnic and racial groups, and of which APDS does.
When Afrocentric Personal Development provides services, again, we recognize that it's primarily substance use disorder, or we recognize that a person is coming in with a mental health diagnosis, but often the referral source is what comes from the court, what comes from Job and Family Services. And those aren't always issues that we can address in those settings. And so when we talk about, yeah, we're going to deal with your substance abuse diagnosis, we're going to deal with your chemical dependency or addiction, we also need to deal with the trauma, the history of trauma, the intergenerational trauma, or the lack of housing, or the lack of employment, or the lack of education. These are all things that, while Afrocentric Personal Development is going to help that individual hold themselves accountable. They're also going to hold their hand through identifying the resources and the positive community supports that they need to reach out to and connect to in order to not just obtain recovery, but to sustain their recovery and their sobriety.
You know, I've worked with the CEO, Director Jerry Saunders for quite a few years now, and from when I first met him to now, the agency has certainly evolved, and it has evolved with the crisis that's going on now to offer services to their clients in a knowledgeable, evidence-based, with a knowledgeable, evidence-based approach. And I really highly value the agency and their mission and what they're doing now, and especially Jerry Saunders for growing, you know, and the agency has grown in the years that I've known them. And their approach is cultural sensitivity, is treating with the ethnicity and the race in mind, so that it's not just a everyone gets treated the same way approach.
When you have clients willing to tell their stories of how APDS has helped them transform their lives for the better, it really touches the soul. I had an opportunity to interview one of the people who went through APDS and are giving back and they enjoy it. And it was interesting hearing his story and how APDS helped him and helped him turn his life around and his situation. So it's really a benefit to be able to see that. Anthony, will you stand up? So I want to thank you for sharing your story, and we'll be sharing that on October 17th on 10 TV News. And so it's interesting to see, and it really is eye-opening to actually talk to someone to see what the organization has meant to them and how it changed their lives. That video we just saw, just talking about the powerful work that APDS does, and hearing their testimony, you see how this is a resource that is much needed in the community as a whole. So your support is definitely appreciated and needed. And speaking of powerful, we have with us today one of the most successful judges in Franklin County. He began his career as a judge in 1994 and has been a judge for more than 25 years now. He served as an administrator with the Ohio Supreme Court, and he's been an assistant Franklin County prosecutor prior to becoming a judge. He has founded and served on numerous civic and community boards, and created a high school scholarship at his high school alma mater to help them continue their education beyond high school. And he has the cool factor going for him as well. You see, Judge James Green and his wife, Risa, did I say that right? All right, Risa, are state certified motorcyclists and have motored to some 35 states, including Canada and Bermuda. But have you been to Sturgis?
No.
Did you do that? Gotta do that, gotta do that. Judge Green also dreams of having his own court TV show one day. And I hope that happens because I'm gonna try to network with you. I'd like to be the host. So please welcome to the podium the Honorable Judge James Green.
Good afternoon. Everybody doing okay? I'm not. But I get over it. I bring you greetings from the Franklin County Municipal Court, along with my 14 colleagues and the work that we do there. I'd also like to congratulate APDS, its board, and its CEO, Jerry. The work that we're here to celebrate. APDS, providing outpatient, medication-assisted treatment, prevention services for substance use disorders and domestic violence. We're also here to recognize October as Domestic Violence Month. You've heard that. Now, Jerry gave me a time limit for speaking today. And Jerry knows me well enough that I think he's sitting over there in fear that I'm not going to stay within the time limit that he gave me. He's probably even made a secret bet on the side, but I'm going to pull it off, so you're on. I'd like to tell you about a domestic violence victim. He gave me permission to share his story. For you see, his story is not that of a typical domestic violence victim. First, he is a he, not typical. He's a professional and is well educated. In fact, he's at the pinnacle of his professional career. He's an elected office holder, a judge, and I have the pleasure of working with him every day. He grew up in a house with 5 women, his mother and 4 older sisters. At times, there were stepdads in the house. He witnessed acts of violence against his mom and on several occasions his sisters. And at that point, he committed that he would never raise his hand out of anger to strike a woman. After several failed attempts at marriage, the judge found himself in a relationship with a partner who, amongst other things, knew his relationship background, knew his standing in the community, knew his general nature towards women. She knew his strong desire to succeed in a relationship, and she also knew how to work the system, knowing that even when she displayed acts of violence towards him, he would never strike her back. This went on for several years until he finally became tired of being tired, and he managed to summon the strength and courage to extricate himself from the toxic relationship in spite of the cost. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to some and introduce to others a survivor, an overcomer, and a victor. I present to some and introduce the others, the Honorable Judge James E. Green. When asked to speak today, I think Jerry and the board had no clue as to what I was going to share. And quite honestly, I had no clue as to what I was going to share. But I do believe in being transparent, because until we all commit to being transparent, we're really not going to lick this thing called domestic violence. You see, we all know someone who has been a victim of domestic violence, whether they suffered in silence or whether they suffered publicly. You know how excited some of you get when Friday comes and you start looking forward to the weekend and all that the weekend holds in store? I used to hate Fridays and I used to hate my weekends because I had to be at home, which was the last place in the world I wanted to be. But oh, when Sunday evening came and I started getting my clothes ready for Monday morning, I loved my Sunday evenings and I loved my Monday mornings because I got to get ready and go to work and be with people who I loved and people who at least said they loved me back. Well, my story does have a happy ending, I'm glad to say. I married a wonderful woman about 16 years ago. She's a great companion, partner, and I find her just a little bit soft on the eyes as well. So, now I get excited about my Fridays and my weekends. Love my weekends. Get to get on my gold wing and ride all over the country, so I love my weekends. But I still love my Sunday nights, my Monday mornings, my Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and my Thursdays. It's just all around, very good. I'm living my best life. Okay, so, for those of you that are here, Jerry and I learned, as did many of you, that we lost a friend. And she was not so fortunate, and her story, of course, does not have a happy ending. Killed violently at the hands of her husband. They were in their 80s, had been married for less than 15 years.
Most of us really don't know what happened and we're left to speculate, which is dangerous in and of itself. You never really know what goes on behind closed doors unless you're standing behind those closed doors. Were there signs? We don't know. Could this tragedy have been avoided? We don't know. Are there similar situations waiting to explode? Guaranteed. As I process, oversee case resolution and litigation and sentence on domestic violence cases almost daily, we bring a perspective into what we do in this area that we call domestic violence. For those of you who work in the area, think of what you do. Remain committed to meeting the challenges, please. For those who do not work in this area, I ask that you be vigilant, but not judgmental as it relates to victims and their labeled abusers. By being less judgmental, we can encourage people to come forward, whether they be victims suffering in silence, or those who commit acts of violence on family or household members and need to seek help or treatment. Wherever you sit, you too can make a difference as we try to lessen the incidence of domestic violence in our community. As we like to say here at APDS, we rise by lifting others. So to you I say, let's go out and lift some others. Thank you.
Judge Green, for those remarks and for sharing your story with us today. And we also want to thank you for all that you do for this community. I can't remember, did you guys make the bed on the time limit? Because that was short and sweet. You would have won probably. That was short and sweet. We'll wait for that. All right, it is time now to recognize our 2019 APDS Awards honorees. Now, these awards acknowledge the exemplary achievements of individuals who demonstrate exceptional service to the community and model the APDS mission over the years. When you are born to change the world, your destiny becomes your truth. Our next award recipient has been in the trenches, fighting on behalf of the people in her neighborhoods and communities for more than 30 years. She calls herself a servant to the people, advocating for those who can't. They don't know how, or they won't speak up for themselves. Deborah Diggs has led her efforts in various nonprofits, including Project Linden, Communities in Schools, Lutheran Social Services, and Mid-Ohio Food Bank. Her mission is to connect individuals with resources that they are unable to reach or do not know are available to them. The APDS Award of Excellence for Above and Beyond Community Service is awarded to Deborah Diggs, Community Servant and Advocate.
This is Deborah Mama Diggs.
I was last in the book. I don't know how I got to go first. Thank you, Lord. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to APDS, Jerry, and the board, and whoever nominated you will be found. Okay. I stand this day on the shoulders of a whole lot of people. Jerry, when I first met him at the Y, and others who've been there for me and have given me some guidance and correction. I'd just like to tell you a couple of things. One is, there's a time for sowing, there's a time for growing, and there's a time for reaping. I've been reaping some accolades this year, and I was telling people it's his way, God's way of saying he's not done with me yet. I got hit by a car and wound up in the trauma unit, and I thought this is a good time to go home and sit down, especially when I wind up spending 3 months in a recliner because I had cracked ribs and couldn't sleep in my bed. So I thought, okay, I'm done, this good, I've had a good journey, and things just started happening that said, no, it's not. So here I am. I want everybody to remember, because when you have an opportunity to speak to people, you want to put something in their head, their heart, and their hand. I don't have nothing to give you in your hand, so don't be looking at me like that. But if you got something in your hand, you can give it to APDS in the form of a donation to support what they're doing to continue to keep doing it. Because as Dr. Ortiz has pointed out in her report, we are seeing more of us that look like us that are now casualties of the opiate addiction. And I'm not trying to shame nobody or say nothing bad, but we've not been the face of addiction in the last few years with the opiates, but our numbers are coming up. So we want you to remember this. I want you to treat people with the kindness, the love, the joy, the mercy, and all that you would have for them to treat you back, because you don't know people's story. And so when you see somebody, treat them the way that you want them to treat you, because a lot of times it becomes a mirror, that if you give something to someone, they'll mirror it back to you. I have this thing about modeling behavior, and I learned it from my elders, and we need to teach it to our young people and to each other. So be what you would, treat people the way you want them to treat you, and treat people the way that they should be treated, because we're all God's. Thank you for this day. Thank you.
Give her another big round of applause. Finding a niche in business. Not always easy, but our next honoree has done just that. After earning her master's degree in accounting and financial management from Keller Graduate School of Management and starting her own business, she has dedicated her work to helping nonprofits in particular and corporate entities to accomplish their business goals. During her tenure at APDS, she held several leadership positions, including Chief Operations Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief Information Officer. While she no longer is an employee of APDS, she continues her support of the organization through volunteering and being available when needed. Please join me now in congratulating the APDS 2019 Award of Excellence, Compassionate and Committed Service Award to Chandra Rains, CEO of Rains Superior Services, LLC.
Well, thank you, APDS. This award is an honor and a pleasure. I'm not going to say too many things because, like most entertainers, those shy entertainers, I'm a shy person except when it comes to my talent and my trade. And the people that know me, they know that I'm not shy when it comes to the accounting business and financial management services. But I want to especially thank APDS because APDS nurtured me, accepted me into the family, so that I can find my niche in business. I remember thinking that I was going to be in marketing and writing commercials, like funny commercials. That's what I wanted to do. And working at APDS, I learned that I was left-brained and not right-brained. And so I learned that being accounting was going to be my life, and I enjoy it. And thank you, everybody, for this award. Thank you very much.
commitment to upholding fundamental human rights and equality for everyone. We're moving on to our next award winner. She works tirelessly on behalf of women's rights, diversity and inclusion, and access to quality education, housing, and transparent government. She has long been a leader for community cultural enrichment, social justice, and progressive issues. This servant leader has spent decades fighting for family safety and domestic violence prevention, leading the way in the creation of a Franklin County task force on Franklin County domestic violence services that was a roadmap for many of today's changes and focus on domestic violence support and work here in Franklin County. She's a dynamo on the Franklin County Board of Commissioners, paving the way for women and girls who aspire to become public servants and more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2019 APDS Lifetime Award of Excellence for Community Service honoree, Commissioner Marilyn Brown.
What an honor. I am so incredibly honored by this award. Never expected it, didn't do the work for any award. It's because it's such an important issue in our community. To treat people with respect and dignity, to treat people well is what we all deserve. And that's why this award is so meaningful to me, not to get the recognition, certainly not. We all need to be less judgmental and to be caring and to just understand that people really need to come together and support each other and be understanding. When there is domestic abuse, it is about power, it is about control, and this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So pay attention when you see something going on in a family, say something, ask questions, but don't be judgmental because you don't know what's going on in a family. But thank you all. I appreciate the support, and please be understanding of what's going on in the community now, and don't judge what's going on with the Evans family. They deserve our support. Thank you.
Let's give one more big round of applause for all three of our
All right, we just running a little behind time, but I want to thank you, Yolanda. Yolanda Harris, let's give her a hand. Congratulations to all of our honorees. Thank you all for what you do and how you serve and support and salute people throughout Central Ohio. Yolanda, thank you for doing your undying support, of APDS and our work to tell positive stories of what is happening in our community. We appreciate all you do. Let's give another round of applause for Yolanda Harris. I also want to take this time to thank our sponsors, the Platinum sponsors, the Griffin Family Foundation, the Gold sponsor, the Somers Company, our honorary chairs, Eugene and Debbie Griffin, our host committee, Rosie and Clark Kellogg and the Parms and Company, and Friends of APDS, Critty, Bonaseco, and the Sylvia Garrett Agency, LLC. I want to also thank our primary funders, the Adam Board of Franklin County. Want to thank the Ira Graham Photography Company. Ira Graham, is Ira over there? I want to thank Ira Graham for all the work. There's Ira taking pictures. Ira back is always so supportive of APDS and other organizations like ours. Other supporters of Rain Superior Services, the Franklin County Children's Services, the Jazz Station 98.5 WSAX, and Web Photography. And finally, let me thank you for our 31st anniversary that we're doing here today. I want to thank the anniversary committee. They did such an outstanding job for us. And where's Charmaine Rodriguez? Why don't y'all stand up? Charmaine, Director of our Administrative Services. Gail Thomas, Chairman Lane. And I'm including you in the Ira because you were working with us, and then myself, I did a little bit too. So thank you all. All right. And on behalf of our board directors and our board of trustees and the APDS staff, thank you for coming today, and we hope to see you next year. All right? Thank you very much. Oh, people are ready to go? I can talk some more. Oh, yes. Okay, I got a reminder. We have envelopes on the table, and still don't forget that you can donate on our website there. And I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity right here to say one other thing, folks. We've talked a lot about substance use and domestic violence, but the real issue is there's this stigma. We got to shake that stigma off, folks. I mean, it's okay. Sometimes we feel so good about ourselves, but we think so much of ourselves that we don't think we can have these issues. But we're human beings. And that's what these kind of issues happen to human beings. So we need to all be aware of it, be supportive, and don't be so big and strong that you cannot accept some help. So that's what we're there at APDS for you. So we open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Come on in and see us or send people in to see us, because that's one of the big things is people just are in denial. And we want to make sure that we're supportive and not so judgmental about that. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.